the sheer amount of time that this occupies within my day that I don't mind using for it is absurd. I mean, I am constantly, if I'm not on the mat, I'm looking up what I'm going to do next. I'm watching some kind of instructional. I'm trying to pick apart something that happened, asking these questions. The mentality, right? I would say that it's definitely calmed me down and definitely changed the way that I interact with people on a day-to-day basis.
Welcome to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats Podcast, and we're getting back to Jiu Jitsu. We've been doing the horror movie stuff, just talking goofy things, and I'm just trying to have people back on. So, thanks for hanging in there with me, and welcome back. This week, my guest is going to be someone close from home. A lot of times I do some remote recording. You guys may not know that, though, so I'm letting you in on a secret. But my guest this time around is going to be one of my teammates from where I train at Crazy 88 here in Maryland. And he also coaches our fundamentals class, which helps me a lot because I love fundamentals. That's the shit I'm about, because I can't do fancy stuff. I'm 43. I'm old, so I got to do fundamentals. So my guest today is Coach Ronnie. Thank you for being here. Welcome. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this, because it is weird for me doing the podcast, period. It's like, because it's a conversation. It's just always just having talks. So whenever I say, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And people are like, what's it about? I was like,
what do I wear? Right?
Yeah. It's like, do I have to do my hair? Oh, when I do the video, when I do remote, people are like, yeah. Like, people get dolled up. I'm like, I'm not using the video.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing?
Right, this is for me. Right.
and then if it's like, really pretty girls, like, okay, cool. Not hating it, but I'm gonna let you know now. You spent an hour and a half.
Right. And I'm married. Relax.
like bring it down just a notch. Just a notch.
Right.
So with having Ronnie on here with me, like I explained to him, it's conversational. We're just going to talk. I got some questions for him. You guys may not notice, but I do interviews sometimes. It sounds kind of shitty, but I actually do it. I try to, at least. So, one of the first things I always like to ask everyone, my teammates, everyone. I had Mahoney and Chrissy on here. Same question I gave to them. I'm going to give to you. What got you into jiu-jitsu?
Well, so I wrestled in high school, and generally what brings everybody back, you take about 5 or 6 years off, and no matter how much you hated it at the time, that daily grind, you start to miss it. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the closest thing. Right out of high school, I'd actually given it a try at another gym that I'm not going to name, but I loved the 2 months of it that I did. I just had to back out due to trade school. I do commercial HVAC for a living. So what ended up happening was I Googled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the area, and at the time, Ivy League's ads were all over the place. If you typed in BJJ, you were flooded. YouTube, Google, Facebook, everywhere, right? It was all over the place. And I happened to come in, and I tried out a couple other schools, but started working with Coach Danny Ives, and met some of the other crew, most of which have quit by this point, but I stayed hooked.
Dude, I think we might be like...
That's it. No, it's me and you. From the fundamentals class that I started in.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Because you made blue shortly before I started, and it took me a little less than a year to make blue, but it's me, you, and Kyle Prescott.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still there.
He's still there. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's. I never even thought about that. because
Just drop like flies.
there had been this thing once we moved to the new location.
Mm-hmm.
The schedule got weird for me, which just kind of made it difficult for me to get in there when I wanted to get in. And then I started kind of, the numbers started growing, and I disappeared for a little while and came back. And I was like, there are a lot of new fucking faces.
Right. I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck are these people? And now, there was one of the classes we were shrimping, doing the line drills, and one of the white belts, I shrimp slow because I'm trying to do the shit right.
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to race. I'm trying to make sure that my shrimping is effective. And I heard him. He was like 3 people back, maybe 2 or 3 people back, and he made some sort of noise because we were going slow. And I was like, "Excuse you," like looking. I don't know if he knew.
I remember that.
I don't know if he knew it was towards him, but I'm like, no, don't like. It's not because I'm a blue belt. It's more because, bitch, like.
Right, who asked you? I didn't ask.
This is my home.
Right.
Like, you're my guest right now. But
I've been in these streets.
But yeah, that's wild. Now it's like even thinking with all the new faces there.
Yeah.
And not even connected. That, wow. Okay, it's us 3. Epps kind of came on a little because he was at the old gym.
Yeah.
I think that's really it.
So if we
as
are
far as
counting,
like our
like non-white belts. So when I started, and of the people that are still there, we still got CH, Chris Huck, Kyle Rock, Brandon Epps, who just took second at Masters Worlds.
Big shout outs.
I've been shamelessly plugging that one for anyone that'll listen. I'm super proud of the guy.
Yeah.
Sonia is training. My fiance Sarah is training. Wayne has been a constant. Kyle Prescott. Let's see here. Keep in mind, this is probably out of about 50 people that I knew at the time that were just,
And I think
back and forth. Ryan Johnson, Naomi, they're still in it.
I think that also, and I'm also thinking about too our Muay Thai program. It's like not that I knew a lot of the faces there, but
There's no one. It's all different people now.
I see one face that's familiar, one, and I'm like, "Jeez, Louise." So, but that's the game though. This isn't just
Right.
the guy that comes off the street says, "Hey, I want to go in here and grapple," and then suddenly think
or the most common. I want to be an MMA fighter. Do you? Does 6 months of training, goes into sparring, gets punched in the face one time, says this isn't for me.
I clink shins with somebody doing Muay Thai, and it was accidental. It wasn't even like it was intentional. It was accidental. Nope. I left.
Gotta walk.
I went to one more, and I was like, nope, not doing that. And I felt it. I think I felt 3 weeks, and I was doing that because I had separated ribs. So I was like, well, let me do something. And I was like, I'd rather just take my chances with this rib in Jiu Jitsu. I'm not fucking around with this anymore.
The new fat kid who's laying on top of me feels better than one kick to the shins.
Yeah, and directly on the rib too. Like, go ahead, knee on belly, right there. Just put that knee in the rib. Okay. But that shin, nope, didn't want none of it. And who was it? I think it was Colin. Colin who did it. Who was in Muay Thai. He came to Jiu Jitsu a couple times, but I think he was more of a striker. I was like, not feeling it. He was like, I don't want to roll around on the floor with some dudes. I was like, I don't want to get kicked in the shin. Did we just become best friends? I fucking think we did.
Right.
So with getting into jiu-jitsu and kind of coming about, especially coming from wrestling, like what have been some of the bigger struggles coming in from as being a wrestler?
Pretty much all of us have the exact same issue. When they yell pull guard, you look at them like they're absolutely insane, because all that guard stuff looks really cool, but you spent years training yourself to never go to your back, and now it's preferred, and it still feels weird sometimes. I know that even up to blue belt, I mean, we have competitors now that were wrestlers that they may be uncomfortable. The other super uncomfortable situations for wrestlers involve gripping with the gi when they first come in, because, again, for years, the tie-ups are similar to wrestling in their configuration. However, in no-gi or wrestling, very few times can you just put your hand on somebody, one hand on somebody, and completely stop their takedown game. In the gi, if it's all wrestling and you don't know how to break grips and they get the right set of grips, you're not taking them down. You're not getting close to the legs. You can shoot all day long. It's not going to happen.
Something I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
One thing that baffled me with you was once you pulled guard on me once, and I knew this is a different world. Like, this is a different Ronnie. Because I remember before rolling with you, I like to like we're in the button heads. We're like just two rams just going. It was like I'm losing most of those exchanges, but
Right.
For me it was like, because me getting into jiu-jitsu, I'm coming from a football background, and I just want to be rough and tumble.
Just lock heads.
Like, there's no finesse. What the fuck is that? Like,
Right.
And then so me and Huggy, anytime I got to roll Huggy, that was playtime. I just had a blast because it was just like anything goes.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you came, there was like, there's another one. Yes, anything goes. And then I always say this on here about me with jiu-jitsu. For the longest time, I was just grappling. I didn't know jiu-jitsu. I was just there playing. Once I figured out I don't know jiu-jitsu, then I embraced it. And I think the moment I saw you embraced it was when you pulled guard. And I was like, what the fuck did he just do? And not just pull guard, but then swept me. And I was like, okay. No, hold the fuck up.
Yeah, no, that was the big commitment, was during COVID. A lot of people weren't training. It never really stopped. So I was able to continue working where other people's games weren't really moving forward, mainly because, we couldn't invite everybody back. Like, you just didn't know. Went real quick from, my freedoms to show me your papers really fast, and
Fucked up. I don't even know where my papers are. That's what they ask.
That's what I'm saying. But that was the big thing, is I got hurt, and they pretty much told me, Master Julius and Coach Keith over at what was at the time still, the original Crazy 88 was, they had been screaming at me, pull guard, pull guard, pull guard. I didn't know any guard, so I thought I knew how to wrestle. I'm not a very high level wrestler, but I'm stubborn, so it's been kind of working.
Like most wrestlers,
right? Like most wrestlers, right? Hard head, and I got hurt, and that's what they told me was going to happen. They said, you won't commit to this until you have to. You'll either quit or you're going to commit to something else. I was like, okay, well, I'm damn sure not going to quit. Hey Keith, what's this lasso about? It's pretty much what I asked him. I spent about 6 months just working lasso, and mainly lasso, and that was my main baby there for a while, especially coming out of COVID. I've since moved some other things into my game, but I think that's definitely my favorite at this point, be lasso guard.
That's when I think right before I went to Blue, Danny had me working lasso fucking almost nonstop. Because at that time, with the morning class especially, I could stay after.
Right.
So stay after, go down to the Aerodyne bike, which a lot of people hate it. I loved it, and I miss it. I
bought one.
I was looking at one, but then I realized, I was like, am I going to really, like, I think part of what it was that it was like, all right, Dante, Naomi, downstairs. And I knew what time it was. It's like, all right, cool. All right, hop on the Aerodyne bike and just go. But it was between doing that and doing lasso, just nonstop lasso. I mean, I guess that's the path.
Yeah.
That's it's like, all right, well, look, learn this fucking lasso, embrace that shit. And I mean, I know at our gym, you know, when you see competitions, you see people going with it, it works. So that's, I always tell my friends, and it's not me like trying to sell. It's like, look, I think that our gym is the best jiu-jitsu school in Maryland. And then Coach Mark was like, well, he listed one other, which makes sense. It makes sense. It's, you know, within the family. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't count them. That's MMA.
Right.
They got motherfuckers in the UFC. No. I'm not counting them. But then it's like, well, we got motherfuckers in the UFC. So, all right. Well, all right. If you want to play that game, yeah, you're right. But on this side of Maryland.
Oh yeah. It's definitely funny how who your coach is will definitely sway the way that your game goes. Because I mean, Coach Keith is a lasso guy. I mean, not to say that it's limited strictly to lasso. The guy beats my ass with just about every guard that there is. You pick, he'll sweep me. However, I think if he had to pick, that would be what he'd be known for. And with the training under Danny Ives when I first came in, the first guard I learned how to play anything with was half guard. So now we've got a weird split between running between half guard and lasso, and my two places where I'm most comfortable, which is a far cry from when I first came in. Because when I went to my back, I just lock people up in close guard and lock my ankles as hard as I possibly could, and that was 5 minutes, you know. And then by the end of the night, my legs are just wrecked because that's all I did. I just locked people down, and you know,
That's
man,
what
I'm
we
getting
do.
pretty good at this jiu-jitsu thing until I found out that, you know, there were people who were actually good at this, and it didn't matter how hard I locked up my legs, they were out.
Yeah, I think that's same here. I did the same exact thing. I was like, oh, let me go ahead and lock them up. Guess what? You know, I get out of my guard. I remember before I actually went to Ivy League, I'd gone to a school in Columbia, and I did their trial. And there were a few nice guys there. I think most of the gym was under the ideal, like everyone there wanted to be the next UFC champ.
Of course.
And I know my week there was like basically like, hey, you're the new guy, fuck off. It's like, not that they said that exactly, but that's the impression that I got. Like,
Right.
Hardly anyone was working with me, helping me. So one guy did. It was really cool. I saw him at the Shogun fights a couple years later, and thanked him, because it was like, you know, if it wasn't for that dude, I would have just been like, fuck this. This
Right,
shit is
this
dumb.
whole thing, yeah.
All y'all are meatheads, and you know, I hope
Latent homosexual tendencies. Right.
laying in between each other's legs. Fucking. But I remember we did King of the Hill there, and somehow I passed the guard. I think it was another new guy.
Dove past.
Yeah, more than likely. I just like, fuck these legs. It just got past the legs. So now I'm down, and I got someone in my guard. I didn't know what the fuck to do from there. This is night number 2. I know nothing.
Right.
So I just locked my legs as hard as I could. And eventually the dude, he was also a new guy, he figured out, just stand up, and he just walked forward and rolled me over.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Guess that's one way of getting out of it, but won't do that shit again, bitch.
Yeah, my progression in the sport definitely went under Coach Danny. I was working with him a lot after class because I told him night one, I was like, competition is the goal. I want to get back to fighting other people. Like, I'm not much of a casual hobbyist when it comes to anything that I do. When I started weightlifting outside of high school, you know, I went and did competition. When it came to jiu-jitsu, you know, it was, all right, when's the first competition I can do, right? And he pushed me back to, I think I was 6 months in I was 4 months in when I did my first competition. And by, again, sheer takedown ability, I was able to pull second at my competition. Came back, felt good about myself. Then we started moving into what is still my favorite, but like over-under passing, right? I went from my game at the time, which is completely different now aside from the over-under, was half guard to deep half to over-under pass and into side control to the bread cutter. It was the only thing I knew how to do, all the way to the end of white belt. I mean, to the point where I had to think about which side I was locking my triangle up. The day that I got promoted to blue belt, because I remember everybody, when you get promoted, everybody comes after you like you're the, the most recent title winner.
Did you get promoted after class or before? Like at the beginning or at the end of class?
At the end of class. And there were still rounds to do. And he put us on the wall. And I had just gotten back from Houston. So we went to the IBJJF in Houston like a week before Maryland got shut down. And I was able to win. I won my 3 fights to gold. I come back. I got promoted. And these guys, I thought I knew everybody's game, and that wasn't true. Come to find out, holding back a little bit, or maybe the aggression wasn't there. I had a target on my back for approximately 35 minutes after I got promoted.
When I got promoted, it was at the very beginning of the class, and everybody's clapping, and the only thing I'm thinking is, you motherfuckers are coming.
Yeah.
Everyone. It didn't matter. Every single one of them. Then we did King of the Hill.
Uh-huh.
It was like,
and you're down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, not only am I down, I got passed, I got left down. It's like, nope, just staying there. Huh?
Right. That's not how this works. It's not the rule set that I came up under. Right.
It's like, yeah, once you get that blue, it's like, okay, it's cool. You're doing great at white. But guess what? Now we're just going to fuck you up. And
right, kid gloves are off. It's bare knuckle boxing now. Right.
But that's the thing, though, too. That's I think a good thing to know, that once you have them all come at you like that, you're still kind of holding your own, and now you're growing with it. That's the embracing of jiu-jitsu and knowing, like, yeah, I do belong here, versus, oh, you're blue belt, cool, we're all going to fuck you up. And you're like, I don't know if I'm really ready for this.
Yeah.
It's like,
that was like the complete difference in competition. Of the very first grappling industries they held in Maryland right after, I say after COVID, but basically when the powers that be allowed us to start living some semblance of a normal life, we went and everything was going fine until I got launched because, again, stubborn. The whole point was to go and pull guard, and I got thrown through the air, and I blew my right knee out. And I still had a whole nother match to do, and because Mama didn't raise a bitch, I went out and fought that match. And I was able to win my last match, but by the end of the night, my knee had swollen up so bad that I couldn't bend my leg. Someone else had to actually drive my car home that night. And that was the big committal to guard. So my recommendation for anybody who is getting into the sport and has some kind of hesitance towards pulling guard or getting comfortable on your back, sooner or later you're going to have to do it. So just do it now. And you're going to lose. It's fine. You are going to get the brakes beat off of you for months, and then all of a sudden it just kind of flips. And the guy who was beating the brakes off of you last week is now on his back and you coming up in a passing position. But guess what? You didn't work while you were playing guard. You're passing.
yeah, I mean, that makes sense, though. Just when people, you have this thing where people kind of have this ideal of, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do one thing. And then you overlook another thing. It's like a ladder. You climb in the rungs, one thing after another.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going over what was some of the more difficult things, transition from wrestling into jiu-jitsu for you, what are some of the things that you've enjoyed coming into this sport?
So, one of my absolute passions in life is coaching, both kids and adults. I absolutely love helping other people get better, and the role that I get to play in the development of people entering and moving through the sport is just, I don't think it really gets any better than that. I'm actually moving towards quitting my job to do this full time, just because it's just the next natural progression. I just want to continue to develop my coaching ability and my technical knowledge. So between myself and my fiance, we're able to make that work. But one thing that I've also noticed while coaching other people is that when you're coaching other people, you have to start bringing in other parts of the game that you didn't look into before. So, like we had talked about guard and passing and everything else, my game is very strength based. Even when I hit everything smooth, right? Half guard, deep half, over under passing, everything is still in my game very strength oriented, right? One thing that you can't do for when you keep coaching kids, doesn't matter what level they are, you cannot give them a strength-oriented game. It doesn't matter how strong the kid actually is. You know, they don't have their balance. They don't have, I mean, adults barely have their balance.
Yeah, I was just about to say, some of us don't have the balance.
Right, it's hard enough with adults. That's a fully formed human being. You know, these people are still growing every day. So you have to start getting into what we call kid jiu-jitsu, which is stuff that they're more flexible and way less on the strength scale than most adults. So you have to start, you'll have to reword how I put that, just not as strong as an adult. And you can't teach over-under passing to most kids. You can't teach half guard to most kids. They end up in half guard, for sure, right? And there are times that you wish you could tell a kid go deep half when things just aren't going well. There's a time and place. However, you have a very hard time. It's going to be the exception more than the rule as to making it a kid's game, right? Now, of course, you get that 13-year-old who's 180 pounds, damn near a grown man. Maybe you can teach him a little bit of stuff. But the biggest problem with that person is rarely do they have balance. Do they understand how to move someone else's body that way? So you start getting into more like knee cut, loose passing, bullfight type passing, right? Toreando passing where you're playing with the knees. It really made me open my game and dig into how these techniques work, because also as I'm a relatively athletic person, so I can bridge the gap with, I would say, arguably less technique than the next person and get the same result. Cool. Just because I'm either moving really fast or because I'm 215 pounds now, but when I started in the sport I was 270 pounds and I didn't move any slower, so we were
I'm in that same range, right, just different
big
body moves.
Right, just big. Right? You can't teach a kid to move like that. So you have to round out their game in a way that's going to work for them. And that has really had to open my mind up to just completely different locations and mile marks in the sport. You know, I was never one to really shoot a triangle. Well, guess what you're going to have to teach a child? You have to teach them how to do a push-pull triangle. You have to teach them how to open the guard up correctly, because they all want to open the guard from the knees. Yeah. Every single one of them.
And with the arm back and everything.
With the arm back and everything, just right? Hence why we're shooting that triangle, right?
Walking into the triangle.
Right, after white belt, most adults aren't trying that one. A kid will live and die by that damn guard opening. And it worked this one time. Yeah, I'm sure it did. That kid was one day into the sport. Congratulations.
What about the other 12 times it didn't work?
Right, go over to the gray belt or the yellow belt over there real quick. Does it work? But it could. Yeah, I'm sure.
I went up to Philly. One of our kids went up for a competition. It was just the one kid. So I was like, okay, fun times. I guess my name got drawn out of the hat. All right, I'll make that run. And he ended up in half guard, bottom half guard. It's a fucking nightmare I know it was a nightmare for him, nightmare for me, because I didn't know what the fuck to tell this kid.
I knew where to go.
It's like playing a video game without the controller.
Yeah.
And I was like...
You know how to get the 12-button combo for the finish in Mortal Kombat. However...
I mean, he actually... So, I kind of walked him to deep half. I didn't have a plan from there, but he ended up like kind of poking out from behind and getting back up. He still lost on points, but it was like,
Right.
I was like, holy shit! Like, it was no gi. So I was like, all right, we got to recover from this.
Right.
So you got a gi match coming up. Like, we've got to figure something out. Gi, much better. Like, grips and everything changed the game for him. Like, he finished second. Okay, good. But, like, yeah, what you're saying with the half guard for kids, it's a different thing. It's just different for adults versus kids. A lot of it, like you said, kid jitsu. It is a thing, and no matter what people may think, you got your 11-year-olds, your 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. Yes, they're growing, and they're moving to the next level, but they're still not quite there. So, that just it's the same with teaching. Period. As a school teacher. Just because you know it this way doesn't mean they're going to learn it this way. You have to teach how they learn.
Yeah, you have to learn how to get that same information to 10 different people who learn 10 different ways, how to convey that information across the board to most people instead of, people similar to you.
Yeah. Factoring in body types too, like you said, like, you're a 215-pound man versus a probably 80-some pound child. They're going to have a different game, for sure.
Right. Rolling through guard retention. Again, when I first started teaching kids, I was 240 pounds. Trying to teach a kid to invert was something that, like, gave me anxiety, because then I had to think about it. I was like, man, I've got this gut in front of me that is actually kind of stopping me from hitting a full inversion. And the way that my hip was hurt at the time, I was like, well, I'm going to have to verbally describe how to do this, and this is just something I've been doing forever. When you have to break it down into words as to how you're going to apply a movement, that is a new world.
And to just think about inverting always gives me anxiety. Just anytime the thought of inverting comes into play, it's like, you want me to do what? Nah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'll invert on accident a lot, but if I consciously think, okay, let me go ahead and try to hit this, omoplata, nah, not that way.
I love it now. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially in my weight class.
Well, yeah.
Get mad as hell.
Because they're not expecting that. And as soon as it happens, I could just imagine. They're like, this did he just... It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, your shoulder. You might want to worry about the shoulder. Don't worry about what he just did. Like, your shit's about to pop out.
Right. That omoplata is going to suck. Right.
Like, I love if I'm able to get the omoplata, off like a, triangle or something, it's like, okay, I can, it's not as much of a full, like, invert. It's like, okay, if I get it from there, I love an omoplata. Those things are fucking funsies.
That was the thing. We were circling back to learning out of necessity, right? As I'm rolling through all this lasso stuff from Coach Keith, I was like, okay, so what do we do when they hunker down because every big guy tries to do the same damn thing to me and I can't ever get this stuff on the feet? He goes, omoplata sweep. I'm like, well, do what? He goes, just invert underneath, you'll be all right. What?
Super casual.
I say, okay, we're gonna try this. And then he realizes I'm a blue belt who barely knows how to invert. He's like, oh no.
It's like,
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
I could just see his eyes just like, dude, I wish there was a video of
Take
that.
a step back, right?
That
man is a saint. He's had a lot of patience with me and my, I would say, below subpar bottom game here. But it's just part of that journey in jiu-jitsu. It's at a certain level you can only run from your problems or what your deficiencies about for so long, and coupled with that and injuries, basically you either learn to become well-rounded or your body's going to schedule it for you. If you're a takedown guy like I was mainly, and which, keep in mind, when I say takedown guy, I was not a high-level wrestler. It's just what I came in with, and that's what I stuck with. So all of a sudden, now when your right knee is blown out and they're routinely removing liquid from your knee, and you can't take shots anymore, and your judo is non-existent at best, guess where you're going? I had to learn how to pull to the other side. I mean, it was all of my guard at this point is on my non-dominant side, which is absolutely hilarious.
That's also another thing that you have to learn in jiu-jitsu that I'm still trying to work through in my own mind is, learning on both sides. Because I was always told, do it on your dominant side first, get it right there, and then go to the other side. But the problem with that, at least for me, is I'm always going to stay to that side then.
Yeah.
It's like, unless I'm forced to the other side. So, you want to talk about the injury or?
Yeah, we can.
So, as you mentioned with the knee and everything, and that happened back at the Grappling Industries in Maryland.
It was in 2020 when it happened, and I'm just now getting surgery on it here in December. Basically, I got whipped around. We both somehow came down on my right knee, and I felt everything pop, and I continued the rest of the match like an idiot, and the guy started on my back, went for a clock choke. I went to try to push off of that leg to try to roll through, and just immediately went to tap out because as soon as I went to put pressure on that knee, I could tell that we were going to be wrecked from there out. And I finished the rest of that tournament. I had one more match. I was supposed to do no-gi, and I ended up bowing out of that by one more match that I ended up having to hop on one leg out to go shake the man's hand, and I was able to throw that guy on one leg and come in for the finish. But I ended up really messing that knee up and not taking the time. I went to the doctors. I was told that everything was going to be fine with the knee. They removed the liquid. We come to find out everything wasn't right with the knee, and I ended up having to go to another doctor, and she said, well, we could, at this point, surgery is basically going to happen. When do you want to schedule it? And, of course, anytime you get a surgical recommendation, if you don't get a second opinion or a third opinion, you're an idiot, because once they cut in, it's never exactly the same. At least that's my experience. And I ended up coming right back to this woman who's going to be operating on my knee, but everybody basically said the exact same thing. Said, had your doctor caught what was going on earlier, he could have recommended that you stop, and it wouldn't have gotten worse, because basically my meniscus has started pulling out of my knee, and a cyst formed with some of the liquid that they weren't able to get to, which none of that's their fault, however.
Well, the thing too with injuries, them catching early and telling you to slow down, that becomes then a question of, even if the doctor recommends slowing down, would you have slowed down? Because I know.
Oh, absolutely not. There's no way. I'm dumb when it comes to. I am a complete hypocrite when it comes to coaching versus my actual upkeep of my body. I eat healthy. Again, I've come down from 207. This is the third time in my life I've gone from almost 300 pounds to 210, 215 pounds. I sit right about where I would need to weigh in for super heavy, for IBJJF, which, as of now, I've committed to competing at heavyweight, so I got a little bit more I got to lose to walk around at that weight. But I'm within basically gi cutting weight. So I, cut 5-10 pounds, a little bit of water, and we'll be right in it. But I'm real quick to tell my athletes, hey, let's back out. I just told a girl the other day, hey, let's back out. There's a tournament in January. I'm not worried about it. Let's wait for your doctor to get the results for this test back, and then you can find out what kind of, where we move from here, right? Myself, hey, Ronnie, we really recommend that you don't go and compete in 2 weeks against a judo black belt and the double gold champion of the Pan Ams. What? No, I'm going.
It's like everything that they said there just made it more attractive now. It's like,
Yep.
wait, double gold, judo, pen.
Right.
But yeah, I'm the same way. It's you tell me don't do it. When I separated my rib, the doctor was like, "Oh, you'll be fine in 2 weeks." That was the only time where I was like, I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit more time because I don't think 2 weeks is gonna heal this.
Yeah.
But like with my hip, they're like, "Oh no, you should take some time off. Take these muscle relaxers." I took the muscle relaxers. I didn't take time off.
Right. Right. I feel great.
And,
I got a kid right now that we've got a nice size up and coming teen squad, and I'm doing battle with them right now in the way that I've got one that's just, she trains every single day. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, except for she's got injuries from a previous sport that never really healed right, and yada yada yada, and her having that battle of, okay, well, you don't have to do the takedowns. I know it's takedown month. We don't have to do them. You can work this over here in the corner with this person, and it's perfectly fine. I walk away. She's working close guard. I come back. She's working the takedowns we were supposed to be doing in class. And on one hand, I'm like, at least her work ethic is there. She wants to learn. And then I'm just like, man, I feel like a complete hypocrite because I'll be doing the same shit, and it's dumb. It's not okay. It's not smart. And honestly, that behavior is what's going to take me out of the sport if I were to continue to do it. Now, I've gotten a lot better. When my coach says, "Hey, we're not sparring. You've got surgery in 2 weeks," right? I haven't completely rounded the corner, but I'll ask, hey, can I pick my rounds? Hey, can I go with these lighter people? Can I go with, again, 210 pounds? I'm going to go with the 160 pounder over here that I know has throttle control and isn't going to go 100% and just try to beat the brakes off of me, right? We'll roll, and it's fine, and I don't have to put myself in any kind of danger, either through wild, random movements or when that competitive side starts to flare up.
Well, that's the thing too, is no matter how light the round should be going, at some point it ramps up. It then becomes a question of, can you pull it back? Of a friend out in California, they got their knee blown out basically by teammates. Mm-hmm. And that's always one thing that drives me mad. And I feel like at our gym, for the most part, we're pretty good at that. We take care of each other. We don't go completely ape shit.
Right.
You might get the one occasional person that might go a little rough.
As I raise my hand. Right.
But it's not to a point of injury. It's like, hey, whoa. Hey, we were supposed to be going 60. You just took it to a full 90.
Right,
but there's no
10,
injury.
I need you at a 3, right?
Though, there are some people, though, that exist, some gyms that exist locally, that they think, let's go full clip all the time. Meanwhile...
Right. They kind of got, like, you point at your knee, you say, hey, just, take it easy on this leg, that I got something going on with it. And that's, instead of, I'm going to avoid that, that's the target leg now, right? Yeah. I've never seen you shoot an outside single on that side before, but now on me. Okay, thanks.
Suddenly you want to work that?
Today's the day, huh?
Weird. Also, that local gym that'll remain unnamed, I don't see them at no tournaments, but everybody wants to go full clip. Okay. Not taking that out.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, either way it goes, like you said, the best thing the best thing to do, with injuries is rest them. You gotta let them heal up, and when the doctors say, hey, you need surgery, you get your second, third opinions. If collectively they all say it, go do it.
That was actually the funny part about my injury. So I got benched for the tournament that I wanted to go to with that aforementioned Pan Am champion. They pulled me in the office. They said, "Hey, just letting you know, you're signed up for ultra heavy right now, and you're bet to go up against this guy. So how about we not?" So okay, that's fair. They said you need to get second and third opinions. So okay, it's fine. Well, as everybody knows, anytime you're going outside of especially now in the post-COVID or end of COVID, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
our new normal. As I
My
want to puke.
least favorite phrase.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Right. Getting a doctor's appointment with any kind of specialist is kind of a lengthy process. So another tournament came up, and we talked about it, and I said, "Hey, this is the game plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull, but I want to go and compete." That is my first IBJJF at a blue belt level. I said, I'm going to go do this. I said, okay. Right? Well, in that time, I had gotten the appointment. By the time I left, I got the appointment, and then I got my results. Well, at the time, they called me. I said, well, talking to Keith, he goes, so, what did they say? And I'm like, well, she definitely recommended that I don't do exactly what I'm about to go and do here in about 30 minutes. However, I'm just going to pull to the other side. We're fine. He goes, all right, we're here now. But I was... Again, had I gone to I was operating off of the opinion of the other doctor, which was, yeah, everything's fine. Your injury, you'll it'll go away. 6, 7, 8 months later, ain't nothing gone away. If anything, it's gotten worse. You're like, The main message is just take care of those injuries because jiu-jitsu can serve you for a long time. However, if you take yourself out for bad decisions, that's nobody's fault but yourself. Your own fault.
Yeah. And that's, again, the heavy thing to consider is with injuries and with doing this. I mean, we all love it. But is it worth, in 10 years not being able to walk right?
Yeah.
Is it worth, in 20 years, having to have a hip replacement?
Yeah.
So, it
sucks because I'm out here, I still train. I'm still sparring when I can. And I have to duck all of the hard rounds that are going to really make me better because I can't go 80%, which is about the highest you should really be going in the room without being in tournament push mode. I can't work that A game. I can't go with that guy that I would be closing the bracket out with, and then when it comes to tournament push, I gotta avoid the guy anyway because I'm nothing more than a rest round for this guy, and it's my own fault.
That's what gets my head to the ego part of that.
Yeah.
When you're the rest round, it's like, fuck you. There's no rest for you.
Not today, and then your knee just starts creaking like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. You're like, no, yeah, today. No, mama raised a bitch. And you will be that bitch.
You hear the knee, it's like, oh, shit. Like, right now, can it just 10 more minutes? 10 more minutes. I promise, I'll come in.
Mama didn't raise a bitch. Your knee says, but didn't she, though?
Well, your mama didn't raise a bitch, but guess who's going to be the bitch today? I'm about to break a bitch.
Right. Pop.
When you have those rounds, or not the rounds, but when you're in training and look, you're going in for your knee. Relax. Don't fuck your neck up now.
Well, that was great. That pop was awesome.
I'm sure it was. And you're like, I can't turn left.
I forgive you, Mom. God damn.
But for those rounds, when you're like, okay, I know I need to, take some lighter rounds, and one of the heavier hitters come up to you and ask you to roll, like, how do you approach that? Because I know for myself, I've been in that position. It was like, I know I'm not supposed to roll with X, amount of people or X person because it's going to be a heavier round, but I'm just dumb.
Right. How I've been approaching that lately is, it really just depends on who it is, right? And almost everybody knows I've made what I've got going on with my knee. Because at the time, I was trying to bowl through everything. I had an issue with my neck where I had a bunch of muscles seized up, and I wasn't taking care of that. My knee, my left hip, my right ankle. I mean, at this point, I was just a giant injured lump. And finally, I got pulled out of a Saturday practice because the only way that I could move was to try to go 100%. I'm trying to kill the person that I'm going with, and he is better than me on a good day, but I got to be real careful how I play my game with that person in particular, and because he was in tournament push, and he goes hard to begin with. So I realized that going harder to try to compensate was not the move. I'm not a black belt. I'm not good enough to where I can completely switch the game up and protect myself all the time. So what I've had to do is I've had to be real picky with the partners. The heavy hitter brown belt who I know on a good day I'm going to survive with is walks up and says, "Hey, you want to go?" I gotta look and say, "No, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go with the white belt." And it, at least for the first 2 to 3 weeks, it sucks. However, you got to take your ego out of it, and I had to really learn to take mine out of it. I'm not perfect at it. There are days where I'm mad at myself, pissed at myself, because no matter how you look at these injuries, we most of the time bring them on ourselves, right? Now, do you get taken out because that one guy decided he was going to knee bar the blue belt who has no idea what that is, or the guy who likes to rip heel hooks, or oh god, what else could there be?
Arm bars are real
right?
big.
The guy has a Kimura locked on. You have no grip. He knows he's got this Kimura, but he still had to tickle the back of your head with your own arm, right? We all have run into those assholes, and but for the most part, the injury will be avoidable if you handle your training correctly.
Yeah, true. It's, again, the big thing there is proper training and just taking the ego out of there. For you in your regular everyday life, mm-hmm. How has jiu-jitsu shaped just kind of your mental, just in your day-to-day life?
As I show Dante the list of questions.
Well, I looked at the list and I was like, let me kind of, because a lot of it you've already kind of answered, and I was like, well, let me kind of meld it a little bit, and I was like, shit, I can't think of words though. But how has jiu-jitsu in your everyday life kind of shaped your viewpoint and thinking of things, and just how you carry on in general?
Well, so looking at everything, we're gonna have to edit the ever-loving shit out of this part just to let you know.
Dude, I'm already
I've been thinking about how to describe this.
I'm mentally prepped to spend probably a good portion of Thanksgiving Day editing this.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get about an hour's worth of stuff, and there's gonna be about 15 minutes worth of usable content. We just stay out of pocket. However. And I am the gym clown most of the time. For anybody listening that knows me, I'm just that guy. Just stay out of pocket. However,
you've had your moments though where you've been like, wait a minute, even I'm not going to touch that one.
Right? Yeah, we got two people in the crazy 88 world that it has been made an unofficial rule that these two cannot travel to tournaments together, and because they just stay out of pocket. They all the time. But I'm working my best to make myself put on that list. As a coach, I've really actually had to rein that in because there's some shit that I just cannot say to a student and customer, right? Because it's where business meets martial arts meets I'm an asshole. And, I've really had to temper it back. I still get myself in trouble every once in a while, but...
I've just kind of reserved myself to only speaking to you. I speak to Coach Mike every so often, and Wayne once in a while, but otherwise I try not to converse because I know I know that I'm going, because I see the fucked up things. I'm just like, there's a joke right there.
Yeah, pretty much everybody knows that I'm never speechless. If I'm not saying anything, it's probably just best that I don't say whatever's in my mind at the time.
If I'm sitting there too quiet, it's because I'm picking apart a situation that I'm about to unleash, and it's like, he's too quiet. Just walk away.
Hey Dante, how you feeling? Not today, Satan. Sorry, bro.
Like, I've got a muzzle order right now.
Right. I'm on my second strike for the month. It's only the third.
It's gonna be a long month.
Fuck. But how martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has affected my day-to-day life. Honestly, I'm constantly looking into this hobby. It's something that I noticed when I was aspiring for bodybuilding, and because I don't do anything casually. One thing that the sheer amount of time that this occupies within my day that I don't mind using for it is absurd. I mean, I am constantly, if I'm not on the mat, I'm looking up what I'm going to do next. I'm watching some kind of instructional. I'm trying to pick apart something that happened, asking these questions. The mentality, right? I would say that it's definitely calmed me down and definitely changed the way that I interact with people on a day-to-day basis, right? Probably, I would say I keep a higher concentration on being respectful, right? I mean, again, it's just we're martial artists first. So, despite what, we kind of change things up in America, but I would say that especially at Crazy 88, we definitely do a pretty good job of mixing that mentality with a love for the sport and also a good team for camaraderie. Damn, that one really eluded me there for a second. While still being able to cut up with teammates. Like, I mean, I've got teammates that I've only met 2.5 years ago that are going to be in my wedding, like in the wedding party. People that, I see every single day. I go to work. My schedule breaks down like this. I'm at work by 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. I do my job. I get home, hopefully somewhere around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I try to scarf down some food, and then I go to the gym and I'm coaching for 2.5 hours every day, depending on whether or not I got adult fundamentals. Because like I said, I coach the advanced program down at the Severna Park location and juniors fundamentals. So I'm all over the board. By 8 o'clock, I'm starting my training, and that's 3-4 days a week. I don't notice and don't really miss I'd say, like, monotonous free time before I started in jiu-jitsu or before I started coaching.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed is that I'm always moving, and it's always in some type of positive direction for my advancement in the sport.
I think with COVID coming up, there was a lot of things that happened with people. But for the most part, I think there were one of two main things. It was either you fall into this, woe is me. And I know the argument is, people handle things like this differently. And I'm not poking or attacking anyone for that. Because I was one of those. When COVID happened, it slowed me down.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I was training all the time or coaching all the time. And then family, I was always somewhere. And once COVID hit, it was like, holy shit, I can slow down for a minute. Let me take a break. And then I liked that break.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I enjoy sitting and watching a movie with my wife. Because she wasn't working for a few months into that. So it was like every night, let's sit down and watch a movie together. We watch a lot of bad horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of really shitty horror movies.
Oh, yeah, Netflix is full.
Some of the worst. No, we have Shudder.
Oh, no.
So we were watching, like we had to read subtitles for a lot of these, like, Indonesian horror movies. Like, don't know what it is tonight.
Bad.
But that's what we're watching. But, you know, and then the other side of that coin, though, too, is, like, you can take your time, you know, away and, like, I'm going to work on me. And not just work on me, but it's like, don't let the discipline slip.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and like you said, the monotonous free time, that becomes a weird thing too, because, you know, I've had friends that have tried to get to come into jiu-jitsu, and I think that's one thing that they weren't ready for. Like, looking at it, I was like, well, wait a minute, I got to devote all my time to this. Like, no, you don't have to devote all your time. Like, trying to, like, it's almost like, no. I mean, you don't look at it as, like, devoting all your time to it. What you're looking at is you're devoting your time to something you enjoy.
Right.
Because I know for me, when I came in, all my stuff started turning to that. It's like I'm always at the gym. I'm always looking at videos. I'm always talking with someone from the gym. And then it wasn't a matter of like, oh, all my time is being devoted to jiu-jitsu as much as it was my time is now being spent with people who have a similar...
Right, like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
I found a hive of people that, you know, no matter how you fall politically, ideologically, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Every walk of life, if you enjoy jiu-jitsu, right, we can hang out. Yeah. We can talk. We can have hour-long conversations, and it's actually kind of funny if you think about it, the number of teammates that you know little to nothing about their personal life, but you've spent hours, weeks on the mat with. If you were to calculate actual time, you've been, you know, basically face-to-face, breathing, sweating, bleeding, all over top of one another. You might not know that person's wife's name. You might not know.
I know that. There's a lot of teammates. It's like, I love them to death. It's like, I don't know shit about this person. But,
yeah,
like, we like, that's one of my, like, gauges with people, though, too. It's like, when I meet, like, my friend, you know, whenever she's dating someone new, it's like, oh, I'm dating this guy. I'm like, oh, cool. My first thought was like, so is there a backyard or something, like somewhere that we could wrestle?
Right.
I need to know this guy, because that's how I get to know people now. Is let's grapple.
Right.
Because it tells you a lot about a person, like how they handle pressure. If they're, you know, I don't want to say dirty fighter, but, you know, it's like, are they respectable?
Yeah.
Your
jiu-jitsu is definitely going to reflect who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of funny, because then if you ask most people how they feel about their jiu-jitsu, they don't like it, but or they don't like how it looks. Well, dude, how do you feel about yourself?
Over that period away with the gym shut down, we recorded some of our matches, Mark and I, and looking back, they got better as time went on, but I remember just looking, it was like, oh my God. Like,
I have a really hard time watching myself roll, because how I feel I look when I roll is much, much, much less clunky. I mean, I am just not graceful at all.
Kind of like a bowl in a china shop.
Oh, yeah, just not graceful at all. Just bashing around, and it feels a lot prettier than it is. I mean... I go back and look at the video, and I'm just like, that's me? Y'all endorse this? No.
It's just like when people say they don't like to hear themselves, like on audio.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's my voice? It's the same thing with video, too.
Right, actors that can't watch their own movies. I'm like, I mean, I guess that's fair. It's like kind of narcissistic if you're just like, yeah, I look so good out here.
Hey, I know some people I record with.
Would you do me? I'd do me. I do me hard.
I used to listen to every podcast I was on. Like, if I'm a guest on someone's show, I would always go like back and listen to it. Now it's at a point where I was like, I don't need, bitch, I was there. I don't need to hear
I remember what I said. It was cringe the first time. Right?
It's like, Oh, and then there's some shows I know, like I have control here, so I can edit out when that sounds shitty. But when I'm on other people's shows, I can't edit that, so I definitely don't go back and listen because I know I was just recently on Nerd Rage Radio, and I was saying some shit, and it was just like I'm not even gonna go back because, like, what can I do? I said some fucked up shit. That's life. Oh well, fuck it.
Why are we here now?
Like, that's why I got my own show, so I can edit that shit out. Go back and say, hey man, so Detroit sucks. I cry every night. Don't want to tell people I cry every night, but I do. So I guess with the training that you do, kind of up to this point, it's just more of a kind of watch and observe type style for the most part.
Yeah, no, not really. So that's what I'm saying. So it should be there. It really just depends on what it is, especially being that it's my knee and it isn't painful all the time. It's kind of misleading. The while rolling hasn't necessarily been the issue. The biggest problem is that, I'll go full tilt and I'm trying to push these people off of me, or like we were working X guard, so I'm trying to push these people out, or half guard, right? I got these people laying on my knee trying to shin cut out, and it's fine. It's wonderful. It's great. And I don't feel it until the next day when I can barely walk. But the problem is I got to go fix a unit at a data center. And I got to carry an 80-pound tool bag. Like, it didn't feel great to begin with. And the swelling that I get from just blasting through, it's actually kind of inconsistent pain, which is interesting. That's a long rant on that. However, it just really depends on what it is, what we're working, right? If I can comfortably do the move and drill the move, I will. If not, I'm constantly drilling right now. A big thing that I'm picking up on is I'm just trying to roll through every fundamental instructional that I can and just drill it until it makes sense. Just picking up as much as I possibly can for either what I'm teaching the kids or what I'm teaching the adults in the fundamental class. And rolling as best as I can. I just pick my rounds, and I definitely end up making a habit of picking people who are not as good as me, that I can really control the pace and control the setting that we spar in the positions that we go to, which is kind of nice because, I mean, as somebody who has to roll with smaller people all the time, like I like to think I have a pretty good sense of throttle control, and I can back it off as much as I need to for some of the smaller people I end up having to roll with, like the girls in the class, or like some of the bigger teens that we have in Keith's advanced class, and I can't go 210 pounds full tilt and shouldn't go 210 pounds full tilt. What's the point? And they don't get anything out of it. I don't get anything out of it, except to prove that I'm a man. That really makes me feel better. It makes them feel better. And
you go home later at night, look yourself in the mirror like, yeah,
I did that.
I beat that 12-year-old's ass.
Right. When I'm older and they're, 18 to 21 years old, sitting at purple or brown belt, and they're beating the absolute shit out of me, I get to look back and go, yep, this is my fault. I did this.
They'll be beating your ass like, you did this to yourself,
Right. Right.
Like, you don't remember me, do you? I see you every fucking day.
No, it's definitely a lot lighter. I was training 6 days a week, 2 days when I could, because again, work doesn't always allow me to hit the morning class, but I was training as much as possible, drilling whenever I can get time and somebody else who wanted to. I've really had to scale that back as much as I didn't want to. I've definitely noticed positive effects. Training with an injury is something that's inevitable for everybody, because you are going to get hurt. It's going to happen. You're going to strain something. You're going to sprain something. You guys are going to fall weird. You're going to spike your shoulder. when somebody sweeps you, like just dumb things happen. We aren't always as coordinated as we think we are. So,
I mean, if you're not getting it, if you don't run into an injury of some sort, then are you really even training like hard enough? I don't want to say hard enough, but are you exerting yourself? Are you putting in the effort and taking risk? Because that becomes a thing too. Just out there training and not really risking anything or putting yourself in a position to really, take a loss. There's some people that will only roll with people that they know this isn't going to be anything where I'm going to gain anything as far as, what I'm doing wrong. And I'm also, I'm not going to look bad. Sometimes it's okay to look bad. I mean, that's how you learn. Like when you're fucking up, it's like, okay, I know not to do that again. I know, not to get stuck, underneath. So like I'm going for deep half on a, near 300-pound person. Probably not a good idea.
right, not the greatest.
It's like, I mean, you can try. There's nothing wrong with trying, except for in that situation, it is very wrong.
Way to call me out, because I do that all the time. No, they.
Well, I do it too. I always think to myself, I can get right underneath. Oh fuck, he's sitting on my face.
Heading in a deep half on 260-pound black belt that is his main game is deep half. I'm just like really diving into heavy coverage here. But no, I'm definitely learning how to do this in a way that takes my ego out of it. I mean, we always say, leave it at the door. We don't. Not all of us. Most of us don't. At some point in time, it sneaks its way back in.
Yeah.
The thing that you got to remember is if you're rolling hurt, that's fine. And they beat on you, that's fine. The white belt catches you, right? Somebody who has absolutely no business beating you or being in a match with you, yada, yada, yada. One, it's training. It's a training partner. So you shouldn't be going 100% tournament mode anyway.
You're not getting a medal.
Right. Nobody's getting a medal for this. And really, and if you're the upper belt, you're fighting hurt, you're supposed to be the example. So when I'm sitting there in the bottom of half guard and these guys are pushing on my face, doing everything else, smashing into me, and I'm doing everything I can to get out, I just remember that, yes, I'm hurt now and I'm only fighting with 1.5 legs and, this sucks and they're beating me. But, when I come back, they're going to figure out exactly what it was. And I say that and they're just going to continue to beat on me. But
that's how we learn.
That's right.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up there. Ronnie, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I actually been wanting to get you on here for a while, but I was just trying to figure out, I want to do another roundtable thing. I did one with, a bunch of female grapplers, and I was trying to set up one with male grapplers, but I'm not the best time manager.
Right.
And organizer of things. Contrary to what people might want to believe,
yeah,
I don't organize shit at all very well. I will set something up once and leave it, and there's no organization to that any further. And usually setting that up takes me months. But I'm glad we finally got to sit down and do this. Got to do it again. This time, talk some bigger shit.
Oh yeah,
probably to the point where it's like we're going to probably talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and probably can only use 30 minutes of it. Type.
I love
bullshit.
it.
But got any shout outs or mentions that you want to throw in there? I always ask everybody this, and a lot of people are like, nah, I ain't got nothing. But I mean, everybody's got something.
Big shout outs to my coaches, Julius Park and Keith Sabula. I mean, they're helping me out constantly, taking the time to help me become a better coach and help me become a better martial artist and further my aspirations. And they take a lot of time that they don't necessarily have to, or, I greatly appreciate it. And everybody at Crazy 88 that helped me get better on a day-to-day basis.
I agree with that completely. I mean, to some degree, I'm in that boat too. And shout out to you as one of, again, I come to the fundamentals classes, and you're one of my coaches. He's not just a teammate; he's also a coach.
Oh, man.
So big shout out to you and thank you for everything that you do. For everyone that's listening, as always, thanks for listening. Love you guys. Appreciate it all. I get nervous every time I turn these microphones on and record, and you guys make it easy once the ball gets rolling. So thank you everybody who's listening. As always, big shout out to Armbar Addict, Eric and Allie out there in Denver, doing fun things with their t-shirt line. So go check out the website armbaraddict.com, or check them out on Instagram as well under the same name. Great kids. Also, a big shout out to Compton Social Club. That's our other podcast that we do here in this basement. It's my buddy Steve and I. I guess we review beers now. That's apparently we got a lot of breweries following us, so I guess that's what the podcast is. It was really just us talking shit, but now,
Of course.
like one of the parts of the show is called Jackass of the Week. So,
Yes.
It was just a shit talking show. Now it seems like it's actually turned into something, and we've got some momentum. So big shout out to them, and if anyone who's listening to this listens to that, thank you. Appreciate you over there too. I don't think we really do thank yous over there. We just say good soup and then turn off the microphones.
Good soup.
And last big shout out always Nerd Rage Radio, Bobby, Chris, Joe. I was on there recently, so if you want to hear me talk some more shit, go check them out, and be on the lookout in January doing another show called So You Like Horror. It's going to be a horror movie podcast, done a little bit better than the October ones that we did here. We're going to have a little bit more care added to it and love. So, if you got anything to say to me, reach out to me. Ultimates Podcast on Instagram, bjj.wiki on Instagram. Questions, concerns, you can find me there. If you want to be on the show, reach out to me. I'm friendly. I'll have anyone on. I have Ronnie on, so obviously I'll have anyone on.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel over here.
But no, thank you all, and as always, you guys keep listening, and I'll keep making the show. Thank you all, and bye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.